Everybody, thank you all for joining us today. Good evening, good morning, whereabouts you are joining from, and welcome to this nominations webinar for the 6th International VR Awards. We're really excited today. We're fast approaching the deadline for our nominations and that closing period. So, and those of you familiar with us from previous years will know we do a couple of these each year just to try and keep in the loop with past winners, judges, and help give some advice and tips and tricks for those of you thinking about nominating. So perhaps you've already started a nomination, perhaps you're thinking about it and running through that thought process in your mind at the moment and just want to get the inside scoop, but hopefully we'll get some questions answered for you today. We've got a really great panel joining us here, which we'll go through and do some introductions in a moment too. But just a quick note before we start on any sort of housekeeping, you'll see there's a quick chat area on the side for those of you that are joining us live on the webinar platform. Please feel free to pop in there some chats, any questions you might have, let us know where you're joining from, and we'll try and get through to everyone's thoughts and comments as we go through today. And for those of you that are joining us later, perhaps you're watching us back on YouTube or through the AIXR member portal, any questions you have, we'll have all the details for who to contact on this webinar as well. So with that in mind, let's get right into it and look at who our sort of esteemed panel are here today. Some, I guess, real good pedigree from the 5th International Awards last year. We're joined by a couple of award winners as well as one of our long-standing judges, and we can go through and just do some quick introductions. My name is Chris Gunby. I'm joining from the VRAwards today. I'll be hosting this session and answering your questions and guiding us through this. But Ed, why don't you kick us off with a quick introduction to yourself and what your involvement's been with the awards over the years?
Sure. So my name's Ed Greig. I'm the Chief Disruptor for Deloitte. So my job and my team's job is to work with new technology and look at how we can get it delivering a tangible impact as quickly as possible and tangible benefits as quickly as possible to our clients, to ourselves within Deloitte, and to wider society. Immersive tech has obviously been a huge part of what we've been looking at over the past kind of 7 years that I've been in this role. And I've actually been involved in the VR Awards since the very first one. So we hosted judging sessions for people for the very first VR Awards, and I was also judging as well. So I've actually been a judge at every single one of these, kind of working quite closely with Dan as well. I'm annoyed we haven't entered anything into the VR Awards yet, which I think we probably will do, which might cause a conflict of interest, but so we'll have to figure out how we do that. But yeah, because we've done some cool stuff, but it's been great to judge and great to see how the technology has evolved over that time. I mean, incredible to see how the technology has evolved over that time, to be honest.
That's awesome. Yeah, always really interesting looking back at year one, year two now, and seeing some of the projects that were there, amazing projects then, and then seeing some of the award-winning projects last year and where that's come to. But yeah, maybe you'll get some advice today on how to nominate for those things as well. I'm sure you got some good insights.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Well, speaking of winners, yeah, we're also joined by two representatives who won some of the awards at last year's show. Aida, would you like to quickly introduce yourself and yeah, what you won?
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm Aida Otaola. I'm the Global Communications Manager at Virtualware. And we won in the category the VR Innovative Company of the Year. I don't know if we know the company. Well, it was founded in 2004, and we are considered one of the leading European leaders in applying immersive technologies to different industries. So it's been 18 years in the market, and particularly me, I've been working in the company for the last 14 years, so it's a long trip. We have our main offices in Bilbao, but also a branch office in Toronto and a network of partners worldwide. We are 45 people, including technologists and engineers, experts, who have implemented more than 500 projects in more than 33 countries. Our clients include various Fortune 500 companies and significant firms, including GE Hitachi, Petronas, Iberdrola, Alstom, Guardian Glasses, Arcelor, Danone, really big companies. And well, we are really happy to be here and expressing our gratitude of having this award, and also for letting us present in our company and our product view that I will probably talk about later.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Yeah, Innovative Company of the Year. So definitely an awesome award there. And Gonçalo, do you want to finish off and introduce us to yourself and your project?
Sure. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gonçalo Antunes. I'm the marketing lead for AIXR at Masters of Pi. Masters of Pi, it's a software company based in London, and we develop real-time collaboration solutions for the enterprise market. We have developed a product called Radical, which is a software development kit that integrates with existing enterprise applications and enables these applications to become real-time collaborative, so we can work together on the same data sets, and also able to work with this data in AR and VR. And last year we won the award for a VR Enterprise Solution of the Year, where we have used our technology along with another consortium of companies to deliver a specific customized solution to enable VR design reviews over 5G for a UK leading electric vehicle battery manufacturer.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you again for all three of you for joining us today. And yeah, for those of you who, I mean, I'm sure if you're here and thinking about nominating, you're familiar with the awards itself anyway, but just as a recap, in case you're new to the show, maybe you haven't been there since the start, like some of these guys. We're in our 6th year now for this International VR Awards show. And we genuinely are very excited to be running this again for a few reasons. One, it maintains to be still the biggest sort of annual celebration of the immersive sector, which, as I'd mentioned, right, has come on leaps and bounds, and seeing all these projects sort of come together in one place every year is super exciting. But we're also very excited because we're back in person this year. As I'm sure a few of you are aware, there's been some disruption to live events over the last couple of years, and we've been hosting the awards in various instances of virtual reality, which has been a really fun experiment for us as well. But you can't beat a good party, and while we have it down as unrivaled networking on here too, then it's definitely a great celebration for everybody to have there. So we've got some really great things lined up there, some world premieres that will be coming to you from the show itself and around the broadcasting for that, and then as well as the big ceremony and the networking for those of you that are able to join us on the night, and tickets are on sale for that too. So we can see a few of the people here, including Virtualware as well, and what they've sort of said about the event in the past. And we know that it's had a really sort of big impact on a lot of people that have come there, whether they've been just there as guests or as judges or as sponsors or as finalists and winners themselves. So I'd love to just quickly go along now and just actually just touch upon your own experience with the show before we get into some of those sort of nomination aspects too. Ed, like you said, you've been there since the start, helping with the judging period itself and set that sort of thing up, and then been through the different instances of a live physical show as well as an online virtual one. How has it developed for you over the years with the companies that are coming there, the experience itself, and the reach of that?
Well, I think we've certainly seen the effort that goes into kind of the best nominations has kind of has definitely massively increased. I think, I mean, obviously, something that we're really interested in is kind of the enterprise applications and kind of the B2B applications for that. And it's been great to see that kind of evolve and kind of people's, appreciation for the business impact that this can have. I think is really good. So that's been great to see that kind of evolve. And I mean, to be honest, the big players, like some of the ones that you've got listed there, have been involved from the start and have kind of been referenced from the start. And I remember when we went to the first dinner, we were sitting next to people from Google and from Facebook as was. But I think yeah, I guess what's interesting is just the profile. So they've stayed with the awards throughout. It's just the profile of them within their organizations has massively increased as well. So it's yeah, it's been cool to see that. But yeah, I think definitely better people have got better at articulating business value, not just to awards judges but also to their clients, and I think that's really started to show up in the stuff that's coming through. And we can talk a bit in a sec about what I mean by articulating value and how I think you should be articulating your value. So yeah,
for sure. Excellent. And I guess with that sort of stuff in mind there, Gonçalo, why don't you tell us a little bit about what brought Masters of Pi to the awards themselves? Why did you guys look to nominate, and how was that? What's that done for the business and the project since then?
Sure. I think one of the reasons why we decided to nominate last year our solution was also to gain, first of all, to take advantage of showcasing or announcing our use case and solution across the industry, but also to create awareness for potential users in the future, or companies that would be interested or will be interested in using this type of technology or developing a similar use case. So as a secondary objective would be to open the eyes and show the possible of what you can do on the enterprise side, using immersive technology, combining it with enterprise data, and delivering something new. That was our main.
That's great. Anna, when we spoke a bit before, you mentioned that as sort of marketing being a massive part of your role within that organization, you said that applying for awards and nominating for those sorts of things is a fairly decent chunk sometimes throughout the year of what you're doing. From that point of view, and from those goals that you set out to achieve and launching this project and getting some exposure to that, how's the win affected that?
So one of the things we paid attention while submitting on doing our submission was to have that principle in mind of okay, let's define our goals, our success criteria, and how can and make sure that we articulate that not only throughout the submission but also moving forward. And I think after winning the award, we definitely got recognition, not only by our industry peers, but also in the enterprise market. Like following this, we have been doing a lot of events this year. Thank God in person, because restrictions went a little bit better. But we have been doing a lot of the immersive design review workshops for enterprise customers. So even though like it might take long for them to become users of the solution, right? But I think opening doors to have those discussions, it provides like tremendous value.
That's great to hear. That's helped with some of those goals. And Aida, before we started as well, you mentioned that Virtualware have been involved with the awards a few times, and that your colleague was at one of the physical events a few years ago, and then obviously the win with the virtual event last year. Tell us a bit about your Virtualware sales, what the motivations were for being involved with the awards, and how that's helped the company since then.
Okay, let me take a bit. Well, no one doubts that the immediate future of technology is virtual reality, and now this is actually a real wow effect. And we were thinking about really, looking for a recognition about this long trip. We have been doing these VR technologies for 18 years, and it's sometimes difficult to get known internationally, because in Spain we are really known, but it's really we think it will help us to reach other markets. This category, it was also kind of challenge for us because we are a really good team, and we really wanted to put in value how the company was, how the company, our values, and those kind of things. So we really wanted to get an internal reflection on what we were doing, or how we are doing it, and this category really fits of this aim. So it was really challenging trying to get this award. And apart from recognition, apart from the stamp, so I think we were really looking forward to participating in this category, because it was like more exciting. I mean, because even in the making process of this application, different parts of the company participated. We discussed internally, and I mean, we also have launched recently the strategic plan and how we wanted to use it for this application, and I think it helped us. But that's it. I think it was just an internal reflection and the awareness. Yes, for sure.
That's great. And it must have been interesting to get the whole company involved in a submission. I guess important when the nomination itself is for innovative company to get everybody's viewpoint from that. How did you find that in terms of showcasing not just a project, but actually, everything you guys were doing and the way you're doing it?
Yeah, it's really increased exposure to our potential clients, to our collaborators, to our community. And in our community, everybody was happy about us, and everybody says, okay, you deserve it. But internationally, I think this award gives us trust and something that is not just because we say that. It's because really a big community of experts as AIXR is behind this. So I think mostly it's also really big exposure, awareness, and it's still helping us, because it's 2021. I think it's a long-term award for us, because I mean, you can't be 1 year the best company, and the next, okay, we can't, probably don't win the second time in the following year. But I think it's a really long-term experience, and it will help us for a few years. So
that's good to hear, and hopefully it won't put you off nominating again. I'm sure we'd all love to see you at the awards again soon too. I mean, I know we've put a poll out on the chat here as well now, and we've seen sort of try and get an idea about what most of you are here for today. And I think, unsurprisingly, lots of people here to try and figure out what makes a winning submission for the awards, which we've got some excellent experts to sort of say about that. But just a quick reminder for those of you that are here joining us for some of the key dates coming up, and that have already passed as well for the nominations, and then what you can expect to happen over the rest of the year. So nominations have been open since the end of April, and you can see there that close date on the 20th of June. So you've got exactly 2 weeks to finalize those nominations, to get all the details in before we go through our shortlisting and then our judging period. The final list of shortlisted finalists will be announced on the 3rd of August, and then our judging period will take place from the 1st to the 15th of September. We're currently finalizing our judging panel for the year. We're very excited by some of the names we've got coming onto there to help judge this year. As Ed mentioned, we've been doing this for a number of years now, for a few iterations, and we've grown from those sessions of experts at Deloitte all the way through to a leading group of nearly 100 industry experts now that are judging across all of our categories. And then the night itself will be on the 3rd of November. Like I said, tickets are on sale now. So if you're nominating or putting stuff on behalf of your clients, or just want to have a good night with a lot of the industry giants that are going to be there, and network and get the black tie out again after a few quiet years, then we'd recommend taking a look at that from there. And of course, any questions you have as well, keep them coming through the chat too. And it's good to see some insight here already. Some of the ideas about here that we've got, just a quick run through of like the awards in numbers and some of the exposure that I guess that we've seen. We have been really, I guess, humbled, like I said, from early beginnings here, to grow to be the sort of biggest celebration of the industry across those nights, and not only from the awards night itself and the people that are joining us from there, whether it's those last 2 years, you can see the number of people that are joining and tuning into live streams and actually joining us within VR to celebrate the awards, but also just generally those that have become exposed to the awards themselves. Nearly 80 million people were exposed to the VR content over the last few years through digital media, through the press coverage and those sorts of things as well. So it's really had that large reach. And Ida mentioned there as well about hopefully being something that will last a few years too. Gonçalo, I think you mentioned as well, right, about having that turn and it was some workshops and those sorts of things as well. How does that fit into, I guess, an award like this when you're doing that? You mentioned it was around the launch of a product, right? When you're launching a new product, you're going around the press for that as well. What does it being an award-winning product, how does that make a difference within that sort of messaging from there? Does it make it a lot easier? That's a very loaded question, I know, but how does that help?
I think in the first place, it removes some friction, right? Because you're seeing that it's not a solution that has been developed. I'm gonna speak for like in our case. I think the key value here is that we have tested our solution with the customer and it works. So we were able to deliver that solution and to generate added value or create added value for the customer. So here you have two things. One is that it removes some friction because you have something that is recognized by the industry as an award-winning solution. It's something that creates already some interest, but also seeing that the customer is using it, I think it also helps us to cross a few hurdles in terms of getting not only the company but this type of solutions, and ultimately immersive technology as something that is applicable across a variety of use cases.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as someone who we've obviously looks at these kind of solutions for companies, definitely having that. Sometimes it's been a category that I've judged where obviously I knew about it through the judging, but actually just having that the kind of the awards logo there on the website has just been helpful because as you say, it shows that it's gone through a degree of vetting, which means that I automatically know, because there's often so many solutions out there for particular problems, and some of them really are very much vaporware. Even if they've got kind of funding and stuff like that, it's no real indication that they actually are the real deal. And so this has been really helpful in terms of saying that's definitely a company that we should look at more and one that we should investigate, often in quite crowded markets. I think it definitely helps in that regard.
That's great. Thank you both. Really appreciate that. So as we just move on to here, then let's I mean, you can see a few of the winners from last year here as well, and we'll run into some of the questions now around the actual, I guess, the nominating, the meat of that sort of process itself, because that's what a lot of people are here for. Just a few quick questions that have come through that I just want to address from the audience in the chat there as well. Deborah's asked about VR only, or is AR okay too? So just to clarify on here, it's the VR awards is for virtual reality specific projects. We know that those lines are probably blurring quite a lot, and I think with metaverse becoming bigger and things as the extended reality and augmented reality specifically becomes a lot bigger within those spaces, it's definitely something that's on our minds. We want to make sure that in years to come as well, we can celebrate that equally as much. So keep an eye out for us from that, and we'll we'll be looking at very closely. But for the time being, we're looking specifically for virtual reality related projects, and you can see all the categories that those are for across the website. And I know we'll focus quite heavily here today, probably on things like the enterprise category, where we've got that the sort of judging and the finalists here, and also the innovative company, but all the nominations criteria for different categories, whether it's entertainment, marketing, etc., are all available for there, and mostly similar in terms of the process. So hopefully that helps, Deborah. Thank you very much for that question. Really great. Debbie's asked, if you win and have a scheduling conflict with the physical attendance at the award, what happens? I'd definitely say cancel the other conflict. Surely, yeah, got to work. But no, all seriousness aside, we really hope that all our finalists will be able to be there on the night. It's obviously going to be a big celebration too. We'd love to have handing over the awards in person. So if you can't come, but someone from your team is able to make it, or some of your clients, if it's a project, then please do send that over. But obviously we'll make sure everyone gets their awards.
Or you can shoot one of those videos like those big name stars do, where it's like, yeah, I was too important to attend this award, but here's a video of me by a swimming pool and wherever. Like, shoot it with a virtual background, shoot it by a swimming pool. And then, even if you can go, it's still a massive flex to shoot a video and say, I couldn't be bothered to turn up to the awards. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that, because if everyone does that, that'd be bad. But if you want to do that flex, it's a cool flex. Yeah,
as long as it is a nicer background than London. Yeah, if you're just in your flat in London or something, then we'll know. That's
maybe virtual backgrounds now. Like you just gotta make sure you've got sick green screen. But there you
go. It's the dangers of the metaverse, isn't it? We're already in VRAwards, but that's perfect. So hopefully that helps with those questions. Thank you very much for those, and like I say, anyone else got any questions on there, please feel free to just pop those in the chat on there. So I mentioned before, we said there's quite a few different categories on there, and you'll see this is half of them, and we'll move on to the other half in a sec. We're not going to go category by category today because we've only got an hour for this. But like I said, broadly, the process for nominations is going to be the same across those categories, but some of the different criterias and the goals for the questions you're probably going to look to answer are going to vary slightly depending on what your category is. Gonçalo, why don't you kick us off? We've spoken a bit to you already and about your nomination, and I know you said about the goals that you specifically had for entering the awards, but when you're looking at an enterprise of the year, and I know Ed, you'll have some thoughts on this as well as a long-term judge of that category, when you're looking at enterprise of the year and the nomination for that, what were the key sort of questions, I guess, that you were looking to answer and the main points you hope to get across within your nomination? Gonçalo, is that
sorry. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry, man.
Yeah, so we spoke about already your goals for nominating in terms of where it fit within the launch of your product and what you hope to achieve. But actually, when you were making a nomination itself and writing that nomination and submitting the video, what was, when relating to the enterprise solution, what was the specific sort of questions and criteria you felt were important that you needed to address when doing that?
From the enterprise solution point of view, I think it was very important for us to, I think, succinctly describe not only describe the solution, but focus on the outcomes and what were the deliverables of the solution itself. And like a top tip that I can give in this space is that, like, even if you have a solution but you don't have qualitative or quantitative measurements about the outcomes of that solution, meaning, for instance, you help to reduce the product design costs by 10%, for instance, because usually when you deploy a solution like this, it might take time for you to actually measure those results. But start with qualitative stuff, like if you're able to improve the design process as we did, just by reducing the number of iterations, I think that's an added value. So don't be afraid if you don't have specific metrics, but think about how you are improving the quality of your customer or the quality of the process, and make sure that you include that in your storytelling. I think that's really important.
That's perfect. Thank you. And Ida, when you're looking at a nomination, less for, like you say, a specific project and a category and those sorts of things, what does that storytelling look like? You've kind of touched upon some of the points already, but what does that storytelling look like for a company and the impact and the innovation that your company is showing outside when it's not related to a specific project?
Okay, I think in this category especially, we wanted to include like 4 points. The first one is like we solve problems, real problems, and we got 500 projects that can prove that. The other value we really wanted to include is the sustainability in our case, because we are actually working on this part of, and we base our goals in the sustainable development goals, and we are taking different actions, and we are having some results on how we can add different actions from our point of view of what we can do. So we are really working on this part. The third one is like we are trying to create the future's new standard for creating, managing, and deploying VR content with our product Vero. And the last one could be like we share what we know. I mean, we don't keep our things for ourselves. We are trying to share what we do and how we do, and give other companies or our clients or our potential clients and collaborations, trying to be transparent. And those 4 pillars where we base our application in the VR category, in the VR Innovative Company of the Year.
That's great. I think it's a really good way to sort of structure around these. Ed, you mentioned earlier when you were looking through different categories and different nominations that you've probably seen varying, I guess, depth and those sorts of things within those. We've mentioned about the story and telling those stories and answering specific questions and structuring that. What makes a standout nomination for you when you're looking through several of these over the course of a judging period?
Yeah, no, I think so. For me, the really key thing with any kind of storytelling that you're doing is about making the story either more compelling or more credible. So those are the 2 things that you really need to focus on. So anything that you're putting in there needs to be about making the story more compelling, in the sense that I can see this is going to have a bigger impact. This is going to be, this is going to be more exciting for users. This is going to be more engaging. Like this is a bigger deal, or making it more credible in the sense that, like, I believe the stuff that you're telling about, the compelling stuff. Because the thing is, I think a lot of people can, a lot of the time, people put stuff into these nominations just because they feel like it should be in there, because they're like, oh, I want to tell the story of how this got made or something like that. But just really rigorously evaluate that through what job is this piece of information or piece of content that I'm putting in doing? Is it making this story more compelling, or is it making this story more credible, in the sense that, showing that we've understood the tech, or that we have the ability to kind of deliver this on our future plans and stuff like that. And if it's not doing either of those 2 things, then I would strongly suggest just remove it, because it's really tempting, obviously, to just dump information into into a Dropbox folder and be like, they'll love it because I've put everything in there. But if it isn't doing that, I'm going to struggle to read through all of that stuff. So really focus on that. And so I think when there's a really impressive kind of elevator pitch up front, which is like, this is why this award should win, this entry should win, straight up, really compelling. This is why we're different. This is what we're offering, and this is the impact that we've had. And then, then building that up with quotes from clients who you've actually worked with. I mean, we talked about, Gonçalo talked about kind of quantitative stuff. I mean, that's great if you've got that, but again, don't feel like you need to go to town over that. It's not necessarily an expectation that you're going to be have full on quant stuff. But yeah, just really focus on those two things. And if it's not doing either of those two things, then and obviously the questions are there as a prompt to get a good answer from you. But again, like, it's not it's not an exam. You're there to tell a compelling story. Those questions are there, and obviously you need to answer the questions, but think about story first, then think about the questions. Because just writing like long answers to those questions, it was a mistake. Well, it was something I used to not really do when I did exams, but the thing is, this isn't, to be clear, this isn't an exam. So you want to you want to really kind of make an impact and tell a really powerful story. So that would be my thing. Remember those two things: compelling and credible. And if it's not doing one of those two things, just cut it from your entry, or at least seriously consider cutting it from entry. And it's really hard because you're obviously proud of everything that you've done. I get that. And you're like, oh, but these two screenshots, both of them are amazing, but really try and prioritize, because if you don't, you risk overwhelming the judges, and they'll potentially miss the really golden one because you've included 30 screenshots. On that subject, obviously, there is a kind of hierarchy of how compelling something is. Screenshots are good in terms of making it believable, but obviously in-game footage, or ideally a very easy way to test the game itself, is good as well. And again, just from the judge's point of view, it's fine if you put it in a Dropbox folder or whatever, but do think about the experience from the judge's point of view and how you're telling that story. So think about how they're going to get it, because again, sorting through a Dropbox folder that's not a compelling storytelling medium. And everyone knows, we know compelling storytelling, like that's kind of what our industry is all about. So just think about that as well, because an unordered kind of Dropbox folder where here's a Word doc with the nomination and here's some screenshots, like that's not a story. That's like a sort of very bad choose your own adventure, which is not that's not the way we want to do this.
A list of screenshots, DCIM 045.
Oh god, yeah. And I mean, and I know that sort of stuff, obviously that sort of stuff shouldn't, but I say like it's the small things, but it doesn't fill me with confidence. I mean, so one of the things I would say is, and I said this when we had the call earlier, is this story about why your product is the best product out there shouldn't be a story that you're only telling to the VRAwards judges. This should be a story that you're telling to lots of people. So this should not be a case of you having to create lots of new content or think about how to tell this story in a compelling way. This should be a story you're very, very familiar with. Or if you're not familiar with it, write a good one now and then reuse it again and again. So you shouldn't have to be making this up for the VRAwards, is one thing I would say. Obviously, do not repeat yourself as much as possible. Minimize repetition and don't reinvent the wheel with this sort of stuff. So that's one thing I would say. And on that topic, it doesn't fill me with a massive amount of confidence if I see stuff that just looks sloppy. It doesn't fit that from a credibility point of view, from making this credible. If it looks half-assed, the nomination looks half-assed, and especially if I don't get to play the experience itself because it's an out-of-home experience or whatever, that's not going to fill me with confidence that there will be a high level of attention to detail going into the thing. And again, I'm not saying, like agonize over this or spend a lot of time on it. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be having to spend a lot of time on it, because you should have this material already, or this is a good investment of time if you're doing it. So I'm not saying I want you to spell check everything for me because I'm, picky about spell checking. What I'm saying is this should be a story that you're telling. Keep it short enough so that you're not having to spell check, 40,000 words of text, because that's dumb anyway, and I don't want to read that. And yeah, basically, I hope I'm making a point here. I'm trying to make a point about being short and sweet and to the point by rambling on for a really long time, which is not a good thing to do. But hopefully, you get what I'm pushing towards.
No, I think that's perfect, and you can see on the screen we've got cycling through the main questions that are the bulk of a submission and a nomination on here, and these are broadly and these will be available for people as well. So hopefully not everyone's scrambling to screenshot or those sorts of things. But and these are all the nominations kit and that sort of stuff. And I see from the poll about half of you have already started nominations, so you should see these too. But I guess feeding into the point that Ed made, right? These have got character limits on there. Those aren't necessarily a challenge. That's there to try and make sure that you put those through into some nice concise nominations to get some of the course of information through, and that we're pulling through some of those main benefits that both Gonçalo and Aida mentioned about what's your story, what are your goals, what is the message you're trying to say.
I would say be clear on the story, be really clear on the kind of the main points that you want to land before you dig into these questions in detail. Like, I mean, it's a bit of a back and forth, but be really, really clear on what the main points the main points you want to land about your game are, or your experience or whatever, before you get into this, because the danger is that this can, you can start answering these and end up with this big, massive amount of text, when actually, you really want to answer these key things. These are here as a prompt, basically. And I mean, well, I don't know whether you should answer all of the questions, but I was going to say something not controversial, but I was like, like at the end of the day, I'm more fussed about that you have the best thing. I'm less fussed about whether or not you've answered all of the questions. I don't know. Is that against the rules? I don't know.
That's fine, because and I think it feeds nicely into what the others have said as well, right? In terms of the structure is here, and on the whole, we're looking at what were you hoping to achieve, and as both Gonçalo and I have said about their projects or the company, what was the goal, what was the story they were trying to tell, and how do they show the impact of that, and how they achieved it. One point on there that's really interesting that Ed brought up is obviously it's really much easier to judge probably if you have the ability to play a game or watch a film, but we know that for a lot of especially enterprise sort of experiences across training or healthcare, that might not be easy to facilitate. Or even on the other end, when you're nominating an entire company and the actions you're doing, how do you filter down all the material for that itself? So I guess it would be interesting to hear from both of you, Gonçalo, Aida, when you can't just rely on sending a code for a game for somebody to play and see for it themselves. What were the kind of materials, what were the kind of things you were featuring within there to show that story and the results of those, to show that you achieved your goal for that? Gonçalo, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, I think when you don't have the ability to showcase your product, create some video around it. In our case, what we did was we actually recorded a design review session from the VR headset, just to make sure that we could replicate, or the judges could see what a design engineer would see during those review sessions. So in the session, you would be able to see your CAD model, like have access to the data, to the underlying data of the CAD model, sign off the design, and also see other avatars, because this was a collaborative solution. So we were bringing together two teams from the company, but they're in different parts of the UK. So we wanted to, in the video support material, we wanted to showcase that it was a design review, that it was collaborative, and and basically that everything that we were saying in our submission in text could be verified in video, not immersively, unfortunately, but at least in video.
Yeah, that's super important. Thank you. And Ida, where do you even start with providing material to showcase that the company is achieving what you set out to achieve, and that sort of that mission and story that you lined up? What sort of things did you include in your nomination to showcase this?
Well, I was about to say that I agree with Greig and Gonçalo that the video is normally the best material you can use to prove and to show what you do and how you work. And in our case, I think we also probably add the strategic plan, which is more focused on the company and which things we were doing by that time. But I think the video and demo is the really proof of what you do. So I think it's one of the materials anyone who is about to submit, which we really has to take care of. I mean, it's really very important nowadays, and not only for the awards, only for everything you do. The video is and in this industry it's also very important, and sometimes it's difficult to show what is remote, but in this industry that we know what we are talking about, is hard to fake, so you have to be also honest and prove what you really do, not trying to fake or do something that you are not able to do yet. That could be.
Perfect. No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah, hopefully that's been insightful to some of the people joining now that are starting or have started their nominations. One thing I just wanted to touch upon on here that we've had a bit of feedback about, and we know that a lot of people have found different to other awards nominations. We ourselves, continue to make sure that we're trying to make this as simple as possible. Like Ed said, it's not an exam. We don't want it to be a chore for people. We want it to be a chance to showcase and celebrate your projects and your companies. And one thing we've added in here was the judge's statement, which we included last year for the first time as a video entry. And so the point of this, and I guess just to clarify for people watching, is it's your chance, I guess, to speak directly to the judges for here. There's a written version of it as well, but mainly it's the video submission that we get through from there. Gonçalo, I know you sort of jokingly said before we started this that was they're pretty different to some of the other nominations you'd done before. What went through your thought process with that? What when you were looking at recording that and sending that through, what was that an opportunity for you to do, and what did you want to be careful of, I guess?
Yeah, so it was a surprise, to be fair, at the time. And basically I thought that, okay, like we are, it's not, let me try to put in words what I'm writing, and providing as a video format, and just to make sure our submission was more robust. Also, it's a very good exercise because, like, as a technology expert, like sometimes we are writing stuff and we are hoping that the other person or that the reader or on the other side, people will understand the technicalities and the things that you mentioned quite easily, and sometimes that's not the case. So I think the video was a very good. It was a very good exercise for us to understand that. Okay, is this message like coming across? Because or should we try to explain this in a plain English way, to see if the message goes through. And then it's like we did a small exercise internally as well. Like we shared the video with some of our colleagues that are not really into technology, just to make sure that, okay, did you get the message? Okay, so that was a good exercise for us. But yeah, I think it helps a lot for us for people that are doing the submission to wrap up. I think it's a very good way to wrap up your submission. Thinking that you're talking to one of the judges, especially because we did this I think last year, while we were still in the middle of the pandemic, I think it was a nice human touch per se in the middle of this chaos. But yeah, it's something that I would recommend. Sorry.
No.
Go on, Anna.
Again, I mean, I don't know if what I'm describing is against the rules, because probably should have checked these before. But I would say it doesn't. It wouldn't be. It's not much effort to. If you do record one of those things, as Gonçalo says, it's not much effort to, even in like iMovie or whatever, or Windows Movie Maker, or there's many online tools for it, or DaVinci or whatever, just to insert some screenshots of what you're talking about with voiceover into the video. It makes it a lot more compelling. Like if I can see what I mean, show not tell is that's one of the great rules of storytelling, and you're all storytellers in this case. And so if you can put the video that you've already got of in-app footage, and then so when you're talking about it, you're voicing over that video, that's a lot more compelling than you describing it. And picture is worth 1,000 words. It will probably be a lot quicker, so you'll be able to make your video more concise. Because I would say there were some enterprise videos last year that it was lovely to see them talking, but I also was quite keen to understand what they were talking about, and it was hard to get that just from their face and their words. So yeah, just that would be my other. That would just be my only thing. Because you're allowed to do that, aren't you, Chris? You're allowed to put.
Yeah, and I think it's about using it, and this is why we brought it in, right? And we've said before, and it's come up a few times on this panel, that it's hard to write some of this stuff sometimes. It was hard to channel that stuff down and stay focused on the message. And I think that exercise that Gonçalo mentioned about actually, playing it back, and if you can't actually describe it yourself or you have that opportunity, then is it the right focus message? And I think supplementing that with other material, like include things in there. It doesn't have to be AAA polish Hollywood on the video, but a little bit of, like, say, effort and those sorts of things. We've seen the full range from very, very well produced and professional quality videos through to a mobile phone in a bar, which I'd recommend on one side over the other. But I think it's your chance to speak directly to the judges, to communicate with our panel, to put a face and name, showcase some of your platform, and also, exactly like Gonçalo said, sense check those things. You can start a nomination, you can save it as a draft, you don't have to do it all in one go away, read through it, sleep on it, come back, record it, all that sort of stuff too. But yeah, definitely great advice.
If it is a struggle to put it into words, then don't write it. Just say, please view the video for more details of the answer to this question. Don't like struggle through writing an answer that you don't feel tells the story really well when you've got it told really well in a video. Just write it's in the video, because I don't want to have to read something that you don't feel is good just because there was a question on the. I mean, I'm not sure how far off piste I am here, but that's, again, and I don't know whether I'm speaking for all judges, because some of them may love to read half-assed questions that could have been better answered in a video. But in my personal opinion is don't do that. Just say it's in the video. Refer to my video, and like, as long as you don't say that in a way that comes across as like dismissive, then I think like, say something nice like, we address this question in more detail in our video, or something like that. Diplomatic answer, and then I'll be like, and include the, if ideally you have the link there, I'll click on it and I'll be like, oh yeah. Or even include like the chapter in the video which you're talking about, like with a timestamp. That'd be super sick. Just throwing stuff out there. But yeah, that would be my thing.
Yeah.
Again,
that sounds
tell me if I am going too far off piece at any point, Chris.
If Ed suddenly disconnects, it's
because you're cutting it. Oh my god, it's just ruining the whole award.
It's all been great so far, and I think this is why these sessions are hopefully really useful for the attendees here to see, because like we said, we've got nearly 100 different judges across 12 categories for awards, and each have their own sort of views and things, and also have to filter through a lot of applications. So actually, how do you get that? How do you tell the right story? How do you keep it structured? How do you make it as easy as possible? We do as much as we can for the platform for that, but do it for your nominations as well. We are running out of time here. Just on this topic very quickly, Ida, just want to come back to you on that, on those sorts of that judge's statement as well. And we've said before, again, I know we focused on this. How would you narrow that down for a whole company, let alone a whole project? Any other things on your mind that you'd like to add on to there about the types of materials for if you're doing innovative company or rising company to add into those statements?
Well, I think that in that part, I think you have to believe in yourself. I mean, you have to convince them, but first of all, you have to believe in yourself and on what you are doing. If you don't believe in yourself, probably you are not going to convince the judge. So I think that could be how to use that part of the form, and trying to convince them. But I also agree with Greg that it probably works. Just see the video. If you don't have to, I mean, get to the point. That's I think it's really a good advice. I mean, go to the point and don't flirt with unvaluable text. So I think it could be my advice in that part.
Yeah. I see that Cheek has asked a question about mixed reality projects, and that feels like something there probably is a rule on that I shouldn't just make up. So, yeah, I'll let you answer that one, Chris.
I was like, yeah, I'll take it away if you want. No. So like we said earlier, these are the virtual reality awards. So, but we know that line is getting blurrier, right? So, I would say if there's any doubt about what you're nominating and it's sort of like applicability and those sorts of things, applicability, I'm not sure if that's a word, but do feel free to contact the awards team. That's a worry, isn't it?
It is a real word. Yeah,
we'll be excellent. We'll be happy to talk through and look at any projects themselves and make sure that it runs in there. But if it's got that virtual reality aspect to it, if it's part of a broader project as well, then I'm sure it'll be fine. But do feel free to contact the awards team. We'll be happy to assess those before you put any nominations in. But yeah, if it's majority augmented reality, for example, it may not have as good a chance against pure virtual reality projects. But again, that's something that we know is ever changing every year. So we'll keep an eye on that. Great. As we close this out, then we've got a few tips that we've pulled through today and some really good. You've even got the proof.
It's the word.
That's good, because this is going up on YouTube forever, and I don't want that sort of thing following me around.
No, real words. Able to be applied. See also applicability. So yeah, there you go.
I need you on all webinars. I do, just to make sure. So a few last tips then, and we've picked up a few hints and tips then. Hopefully it's been useful for the audience here, but a few things that we've got on here. So one, familiarize yourself with the criteria that's on there and sort of the word count of these forms. Like we said, it's not an exam to answer on there. The questions are there as a guide. They're broadly the same for each category, but what you want to look at is the submission criteria in terms of what are the specific goals that we look at for an enterprise application versus a game. They're going to be looking at different success criteria for there, and how do you display that through the structure we've sort of given you with those questions. So have a look through that, and again, for all of these, any questions, let us know. Make sure to relate your points back to how your project fulfills that, and take that step back now and again, like Gonçalo said before, they knew what the questions were we want to answer, and exactly like Ida said as well about the 4 sort of pillars they structured their conversation around. Are you achieving those? And exactly like Ed said, if you don't feel like it's contributing, it's a short submission, or it can be anyway, and they've got a lot to read, so don't put any unnecessary sort of information within there. If you have data and statistics, great. If you're able to showcase the evidence, especially around categories such as training and those sorts of things, those are really powerful to showcase that, or around the enterprise side. And again, like I say, it's not just that we're fussy, but focus on just taking a bit of time to really proof and check your submissions and that little bit of polish at the end. I'm sure everybody who's worked on these projects know that it's the polish at the end that really makes it 100% for everything you guys do. So really focus on how well written they are, the depth of your answers, and make sure it's structured really well for the judges, and with those supporting materials and documents as well. Videos, excellent way to showcase that. Don't assume that everybody's going to be able to try your project, because that will depend on the category and nominations you go in for. But provide as much supporting material as you can that is relevant. Don't overload it, and make those as a sort of crucial part of the process that's easy to filter through. Anything on there that we've missed from what you guys have told us so far that you'd add in, top tip for those nominating?
No, I mean, yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead, Aida.
No, really, I was about to say that don't be afraid about submitting. I mean, it worth some money, but you also gain the experience of the working process. And if you get finalists, it's also a big step. And if you win, is the biggest step. So I'm just saying that don't be afraid and try.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. I think that's spot on, because even if it's a really useful exercise around telling your story and forcing you to think about your story in kind of a short, compelling format. So I would say, with as Aida says, like just do it. Like definitely submit. You're not necessarily going to get feedback, but it will be a useful exercise for you, even if you don't get feedback. And if you package up these materials right, and you make materials that you can use again, you'll be able to get feedback from other people, because you'll be able to play this stuff back. But if you end up creating stuff that is VRAwards only, I think you haven't done yourself the best possible way of doing this. Like the stuff you're doing here should be reusable. Make it modular. Yeah, that's the thing. If you can pull in videos and then add commentary over the top of it, like you guys know how software architecture works. Like good software architecture works. Like do it that way.
Perfect. Excellent. So yeah, I'd obviously slightly biased, but definitely echo what these guys have said. Definitely put the nomination in. Whether you're shortlisted, a finalist, a winner, we hope to see you all in London this year for, at the very least, what will be the biggest party of the year to celebrate the immersive industries. Next steps for any of those that are interested, if you haven't started your nomination yet, and are hopefully as enthusiastic as we are for you to put that in after this webinar, go ahead now and download the nomination kit. There should have been a link pop up for that throughout this. If you haven't already, it's available on the website. Make sure you plan that process internally. Use your team, as Gonçalo said. Have a look about who you want to be involved in that submission. Prepare all the documents and all the material that you might need, draft that nomination up, and just make sure you review that and submit it by the 20th of June. That's 2 weeks from today. So we've probably made it sound like there's lots you need to put into this and lots of thought you have. Hopefully you've got a lot of these materials already, as people have said, but definitely worth it. So make a start. And if you still have got any questions after today, please feel free to contact the VRAwards team and we'll be able to help you out with anything on there. And a reminder about where to find us, VRAwards.AIXR.org for the nominations kit, key questions, and all those key dates that we've gone through for today. This webinar itself will be available on YouTube and through the AIXR member portal for Academy members. And if you have any other further questions, there's our numbers on the screen. They're on the website as well. And you can also email awards@AIXR.org. And hopefully not throwing under the bus, but I'm sure Gonçalo, Aida, and Ed will be happy to connect with anybody as well who's been watching this and is interested.
Yeah, we allow, because I was going to say, are we allowed to do that? I mean, because I was like, I'm happy to review your stuff. Like, yeah, I might, but send me stuff if you've got questions. But then I was like, if I'm judging it, that might be a conflict of interest. As you can tell, I'm a big rules guy, so yeah, I didn't want to be breaking any rules. What do you think, Chris?
Any major questions about nominations or eligibility or anything like that, feel free to contact the awards team. I think if you want to connect more broadly around questions around this webinar, what's been great for nominations in the past. Ed, I know you've, like you said, you've judged for the last 5 years, mostly around those enterprise areas and things too, and you see these things in your day-to-day life as well. So I'm sure you've got lots of experience.
I'm a very ethical and independent person. So even if you do send me your awards thing, that will not influence me in my judging at all. I will be completely unbiased and independent when the time for judging comes. And I'm glad that's now on the record.
There we go. We've got it here first.
Yeah.
There we go. Your affidavit and my spelling, we've got sorted out, if not anything else. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody on here. We've run over slightly for time, but I'm sure you agree it's been worth it. Thank you very much, Ed, for joining us. Reminder, Ed from Deloitte has been a judge for the awards for the last 5 years and soon to be an entrant, I'm sure, from what you said. Gonçalo from Master Pi, winner of Enterprise Solution of the Year last year, and Aida from Virtualware, winner of Innovative Company of the Year. Thank you very much for joining us, guys, and thank you all for joining us in the chat and online here. And hope to see you in London in November.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. See you all in November, if not sooner. Bye.
See ya.